There seems to be a sort of rash of videos that have been edited to make the president appear especially frail or mentally confused. I'm wondering if the White House is especially worried about the fact that this appears to be a pattern that we're seeing more often.
Yeah, and I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. And I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. And to their credit, we have a conservative Washington Examiner did call them out as well, calling out the New York Post. Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attacked the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes. These manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith. It's just categorically false. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
That woman in that binder. Throw that binder out the window. Throw that binder out in the middle of the freeway. Matter of fact, set the binder on fire. That's binder. Boy, I couldn't wait to get into this, man. That lady with that big old binder, huh? That big old binder. Worst press secretary ever. Yeah. Come on out with that big old binder. What a disgrace. Lie after lie after lie. Yeah. I couldn't wait to get into this, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. We keep it real. And if you don't want to keep it real, it's not the place for you. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. I look, you get your little feelings hurt, but we got to be real. You know, 15 more days, y'all. 15 more days. And we're going to see how this thing play out. But competent patriots, people that's gonna actually answer the question. You know, we're sick of what's taking place. People going on vacation, people falling down, people don't know what time of the day it is. Ice cream cones, Slurpees, slushies on the floor. And then the crazy thing is, they knew on day one, in the first week, 2-3 weeks he was in there, they knew this was bad from the start. They knew he was in there declining. And what they do, we funding vacations. Send him on another vacation. Don't know where he at. He done sent money over here. He done went into in the meeting room, and they having a live speech. He done fell asleep. Don't even know what they said. Shoot. Don't know what's going on. They got to walk him off and cart him off and carry him off stage. And then she gonna get up there, I'll open up that big old binder and say, you guys, especially, you know, and they played it on CNN, MSNBC, the fake news. It's a cheap fake. What you're seeing is also AI edited. It's not real. He's as sharp as a tack. And the Bidenomics, the economy, I mean, it's amazing. Everything is going perfectly fine. And we're also doing a good job at the border. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. And there need to be somebody with their hands behind their back. A whole bunch of them. And throw that big binder in the middle of the freeway. Let's get into it, y'all. Let me stop talking. I apologize. I got the. I'm sorry, y'all. I really am. But you know, I speak for the people. I speak for the people, man. Yeah. Worst press secretary ever. You know, and if I really said what I really want to say, they'll take my whole video down.
So we know that there'll be a very new team in place at the White House very soon. A member of the outgoing team is Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary for President Biden. She posted this on social media. Charlie's beside himself already. Here's to the best team in the business. I couldn't do it without you. You sort of wonder how she would be without them.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
This is like,
couldn't.
And look, in fairness, when you're doing a tough job, and she has one, and you have that camaraderie, you want to pay tribute to the people that you work with. But this sort of has the same vibe to me as like someone on the Chicago White Sox from this past season putting out a team photo and being like, what an amazing group to be a part of. They lost 121 games in Chicago this past season. That's the baseball equivalent of this press shop. I understand that President Biden didn't give them much to work with, right? It's very hard to speak on his behalf and to defend him. But with all respect, she is uniquely bad at this job.
And she has the entire press corps almost exclusively behind her. They're doing her work for her, and she still is a complete disaster.
That's why I thought Molly Hemingway, the great Molly Hemingway, had one of the best tweets out there on this. She said, there is not an easier job in the universe than being press secretary for a Democrat. And yet somehow y'all still failed. So let's get a little bit of a look back at some of the highlights.
Do we have to?
What some people call binder. Karine Jean-Pierre.
Big binder, that's what we call her. Big damn binder, that big old binder. Throw that big binder in the middle of the freeway. And I showed y'all the biggest highlight of them all in the beginning of the video. If you watch the intro, I'm pretty sure everybody watched the intro. That was one of the biggest highlights. It was a cheap fake. It was a deep fake. That the president is as sharp as a tack, and that it's us us right-wingers that are the problem, you know, that we're spewing out these conspiracy theories. We'll come to find out conspiracy theories has been conspiracy facts. That we're extremists, that we're lying, that we're editing stuff, that what we seen wasn't real. It was a cheap fake. That the president did not just fall down, did he not wander off? Did he not know what he just said? He's as sharp as a tack. Y'all stop with all this. She said that, and she wrote that down in that binder and said it out loud.
Title 42 is going to be lifted. Yes, it will. But we are going to move to Title 8. The border is not open.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. Instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes.
Is there a real alarm happening behind the scenes that the president is simply too old to stake around for another 4 years?
No, there's no alarm happening behind the scenes. I would put the president's stamina, president's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
Well,
she did say at one point as well that she and some of the staffers just could scarcely keep up with Joe Biden and his pace and his energy. And it's just like, I think laughing, unfortunately, is the right response, right? It's a joke. It was gaslighting at the time, cheap fakes. One of the creepiest things that's happened in our politics in the last year was Karine Jean-Pierre spewing out that word, cheap fakes, which no one had ever heard before. And then most of the mainstream media picking it up overnight, like through osmosis. Within hours, they're like, oh, this is a thing that we say now. And of course, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't fake. It was real. And the lie that she told to our colleague, Mark Meredith, about the Pardon, for example, it's just like one greatest hit after another from this crew, starring, in many cases, her, because he, the principal, rarely spoke.
And sadly, it proves you can tell any lie. And it doesn't matter how big it is. If you just tell it and keep telling it and keep telling it, there's a portion of the people that believe it, and they fall in line. And then we wind up, months, years later, it turns out all the speculation about his mental incapacity.
All it took was an op-ed from George Clooney, and then they all switched over. It's crazy.